The alarm blared through Hyunwoo's helmet, making him wince. He was outside the station, floating in the darkness of space, trying to fix a broken solar panel. The work was boring, like always. He had been doing the same repairs for months now, alone on this tiny mining station called Cheonsa 7. Then he saw something strange. A bright flash lit up the asteroid field nearby. Something had crashed there, sending debris spinning in all directions. Hyunwoo stopped working and stared. Ships rarely came out this far. The mining station was at the edge of known space where nobody important ever visited. He should report it. That was the rule. But Hyunwoo was tired of rules. He was tired of being alone. He was tired of the same empty days, so he made a choice. He activated his suit thrusters and flew toward the crash site. The wreckage was worse than he expected. The ship was small, elegant, made from materials he did not recognize. It was cracked open like an egg, pieces floating in the void. Hyunwoo moved carefully through the debris field, searching. Then he found her. She was trapped inside what remained of the cockpit. Her skin glowed faintly with blue and silver light, like stars underwater. She had a humanoid shape but was clearly not human. Her features were too perfect, too symmetrical. Crystalline patterns ran along her arms and face. She was beautiful in a way that made Hyunwoo feel like he was looking at something sacred. She was also dying. Hyunwoo could see the blood. It was silver, leaking from a wound in her side. Her eyes opened slowly, struggling to focus. When she saw him, fear flashed across her face. She tried to speak, but her voice came out as a weak whisper in a language he could not understand. He did not need to understand. He could see what she needed: help. Hyunwoo pulled out his cutting torch and started working on the wreckage. The metal was tough, designed to withstand impacts. It took precious minutes to cut through. The alien girl watched him with wide eyes, her expression shifting from fear to confusion. She tried to push him away with one weak hand, but she had no strength left. Finally, he freed her from the wreckage. He lifted her carefully, surprised by how light she was. Her glowing skin dimmed and brightened irregularly like a dying light bulb. Hyunwoo activated his thrusters and flew back to the station as fast as he dared. Getting inside was tricky. He could not take her through the main airlock where cameras would see them. Instead, he used the maintenance entrance near his workshop. It was against protocol, but Hyunwoo had stopped caring about protocol a long time ago. Once inside, he laid her on his workbench and stripped off his helmet. The alien girl was breathing rapidly, her chest rising and falling in panic. She tried to sit up, but Hyunwoo gently pushed her back down. "Easy," he said softly. "I'm going to help you." She said something in her language. It sounded angry, desperate. She grabbed his wrist with surprising strength, her eyes pleading. Hyunwoo understood. She did not want his help, but she was going to die without it. He ignored her protests and got to work. His medical training was basic, meant for human injuries, but biology was biology. He cleaned the wound, applied synthetic tissue, and injected her with broad-spectrum antibiotics. He had no idea if it would work on her alien physiology, but it was better than nothing. Hours passed. The alien girl drifted in and out of consciousness. Hyunwoo stayed by her side, monitoring her vital signs with improvised equipment. Slowly, her condition stabilized. The bleeding stopped. Her glowing skin began to pulse with a steadier rhythm. When she finally woke up fully, dawn was breaking outside the station windows. Artificial dawn, anyway. The lights gradually increased to simulate Earth's day-night cycle. It was supposed to keep humans sane in deep space. Hyunwoo was not sure it worked. The alien girl sat up slowly, looking around his small quarters with obvious disgust. Then she looked at him. Really looked at him. Her eyes were purple, he realized. Deep violet with flecks of silver. She spoke. This time her words came with gestures, and a small device on her wrist glowed. A translator. Her voice came out flat and mechanical through the device. "You are human." It was not a question. It was an accusation. "Yes," Hyunwoo said. "My name is Hyunwoo. You crashed. I brought you here. Why?" The word came out sharp, angry. "Why would you interfere?" Hyunwoo blinked. "You are dying. I am Nira of House Velshan. My people do not accept help from primitives." The translator made her words sound cold, but Hyunwoo could hear the emotion underneath. Shame. Horror. She was not angry at him. She was angry at herself for needing his help. "Well," Hyunwoo said carefully, "your people aren't here. And you're alive. So maybe we can deal with the rest later." Nira stared at him for a long moment. Then she looked away, her jaw tight. "You have created a debt. This is unacceptable." My people must never know that a human saved my life. It would dishonor my entire family. Hyunwoo felt a spike of irritation. He had just spent hours saving her life, and this was her response? But he pushed the feeling down. Different cultures had different rules. He knew that. Fine, he said. I'll delete the medical records. No one needs to know. Nira looked surprised. You would do this? Sure. Whatever helps. She studied him with those strange purple eyes like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Finally, she nodded. My ship's distress beacon was damaged in the crash. I need to repair it to signal my people, but I will need parts. I can get parts, Hyunwoo said, but it'll take time. The supply system here is slow and I'll have to be careful. If anyone finds out you're here, there'll be questions. How long? Maybe 2 weeks? 3 at most. Nira's expression darkened, but she nodded. Very well. I will stay hidden. But understand this, human. I am grateful for nothing. This is simply survival. When my people arrive, I will leave and we will never speak of this again. Understood, Hyunwoo said. But as he watched her turn away, wrapping herself in a blanket and moving to the corner of his small room, Hyunwoo wondered. She said they would never speak of this again. She said she was grateful for nothing. But her hands were shaking, and when she thought he was not looking, she touched the bandage on her side with something that looked almost like wonder. Hyunwoo had saved many things in his life. Machines, systems, equipment. But he had never saved a person before. Not since his sister. Not since he failed to save Ji Young 3 years ago. Maybe that was why he had broken protocol for this strange, proud alien girl. Maybe he needed to prove to himself that he could still save someone. Or maybe he was just tired of being alone. The first 3 days were uncomfortable. Nira stayed in the corner of Hyunwoo's quarters meditating in silence. She barely moved. She barely spoke. When he tried to offer her food, she refused. When he tried to make conversation, she ignored him. Hyunwoo gave her space. He went to work each day, fabricating the parts she needed for her beacon. It was delicate work. He had to make each piece look like it was for station maintenance, not for an alien ship. If anyone suspected what he was doing, there would be trouble. At night, he returned to find Nira exactly where he had left her. Silent. Still. Glowing faintly in the darkness like a lamp that refused to turn off completely. On the 4th day, something changed. Hyunwoo came back to his quarters and found Nira standing by his small bookshelf. She had her hand on one of his old books, fingers tracing the spine. When she heard him enter, she jerked away like she had been caught stealing. Sorry, she said, the translator making her voice flat. I was just looking. It's okay, Hyunwoo said. You can read them if you want. These are made from organic material, paper, very primitive. Yeah, but they last longer than digital files. And you don't need power to read them. Nira tilted her head considering this. Practical. Would you like me to read to you? The words came out before Hyunwoo could stop them. He felt stupid immediately. Why would an advanced alien want to hear a human read poetry? But Nira surprised him. She hesitated, then nodded. Yes, I would like that. So Hyunwoo picked up a book of old Korean poetry and began to read. He translated as best he could, knowing the meaning was getting lost. But Nira listened, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, she moved closer. This became their routine. Hyunwoo would work during the day fabricating parts. He would bring back food, carefully adjusted for her biology based on scans he had taken. She would eat reluctantly, always looking guilty about accepting anything from him. And at night he would read. Sometimes poetry, sometimes philosophy, sometimes just stories. During one of these reading sessions, Nira finally spoke about herself. The Veltian Empire has not changed in 3,000 years, she said quietly. We achieved technological perfection long ago. Now we simply maintain it. Innovation is discouraged. Change is seen as dangerous. That sounds boring, Hyunwoo said. Nira made a sound that might have been a laugh. It is. But it is also safe. Stable. My people believe stability is the highest virtue. Is that why you crashed? Were you running away? Nira was quiet for a long time. Then she nodded. I was supposed to marry a high official I have never met. It was arranged by my family for political advantage. I refused. They insisted. So I took a ship and left. And crashed, Hyunwoo said gently. And crashed. She looked at her hands. Now I have dishonored my family twice, once by fleeing, and again by accepting help from a human. Why is that such a big deal? That I'm human, I mean. Nira met his eyes. Because the Velshan Empire believes we are superior to all other species. We have rules about contact with younger races. Accepting help from you means admitting that humans have value. That you can do something we cannot. Save someone's life? Yes. Hyunwoo thought about this. Your people sound exhausting. This time, Nira definitely laughed. It was a small sound, quickly suppressed. But it was real. After that night, things got easier. Nira started helping Hyunwoo with his work. Her knowledge of advanced systems was incredible. She improved his repair techniques, making his work twice as efficient. She fixed problems he did not even know existed. The other workers on the station started noticing. His supervisor called him in, confused about why the station's efficiency had suddenly jumped. Hyunwoo made up excuses, claiming he had just been studying harder. It was weak, but his supervisor accepted it. Then came the inspection. A government official arrived unannounced, conducting random audits of outer stations. Hyunwoo got the alert an hour before the inspector arrived. He ran back to his quarters and found Nira already packing her few belongings. You have to hide, he said. Right now. Where? The ventilation system. It's the only place without cameras. Nira looked at the narrow access panel and then at Hyunwoo. For the first time, he saw real fear in her eyes. How long? I don't know. Hours, maybe. I'm sorry. She nodded and climbed into the vent. Hyunwoo sealed it behind her and tried to make everything look normal. The inspection lasted 6 hours. 6 hours of the official going through every room, every system, every record. 6 hours of Hyunwoo pretending everything was fine while knowing Nira was cramped in a dark, cold space, struggling to breathe the thin air. When the inspector finally left, Hyunwoo ran to open the vent. Nira practically fell out, gasping. Her glow had dimmed to almost nothing. She was shaking, her skin cold to the touch. Hyunwoo caught her and carried her to his bed. He wrapped her in every blanket he had. He adjusted the room temperature as high as it would go. He stayed next to her, monitoring her breathing, terrified that he had killed her by making her hide. I'm sorry, he kept saying. I'm so sorry. Nira's hand found his. Her grip was weak, but it was there. Not your fault, she whispered. It took hours for her to recover. Hyunwoo did not sleep. He just sat there holding her hand, feeling the guilt eat at him. This was just like with Ji-young. He had tried to help and he had just made things worse. But then, as dawn light filled the room, Nira opened her eyes. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she spoke not in her own language, but in his. The words were heavily accented and slow, but they were Korean. Thank you. Hyunwoo stared at her. You've been learning? She nodded. I listen when you read. I study your language files at night. I thought, she paused, searching for words. I thought if I learn your words, maybe I can understand why you are different. Different from what? From what I was taught. They told me humans were primitive, selfish, dangerous, but you are none of those things. Her purple eyes were intense. You saved my life. You protect me. You give me your food, your blankets, your time. You risk your safety for me. Why? Hyunwoo did not have a good answer. Because you needed help. That is not enough reason. Not for what you have sacrificed. He thought about telling her the truth. About Ji-young. About the guilt. About how he had been running from connection for 3 years, and maybe helping Nira was his way of trying to forgive himself. But instead he just said, maybe I was tired of being alone. Nira squeezed his hand. Her glow brightened slightly. I understand that feeling. They sat there in silence as the artificial sun rose outside. Two beings from different worlds thrown together by chance, learning to trust each other one small moment at a time. Hyunwoo realized something important. He had been protecting Nira because he felt guilty. Because he wanted to save someone to make up for failing Ji-young. But somewhere along the way it had become more than that. He actually cared about her, and judging by the way she held his hand, refusing to let go even as she drifted back to sleep, maybe she cared about him too. The beacon was ready. Hyunwoo placed the final component on his workbench and stepped back. 3 weeks of careful work, hidden fabrication, and close calls. But it was done. The device would send a signal that Nira's people could detect. They would come for her. He should feel relieved. His life could go back to normal. The constant stress of hiding her would end. He could be alone again, just like he wanted. But as he stared at the finished beacon, all Hyunwoo felt was empty. Nira was standing by the window looking out at the stars. She had been quiet all morning. Her glow was steady, but something about her posture seemed sad. "It's finished," Hyunwoo said. She turned to look at the beacon, then at him. "How long until they arrive?" "Once you activate it, maybe 4 days. 5 at most." Nira nodded slowly. She walked over to the workbench and picked up the beacon, turning it over in her hands. "You do excellent work. I had a good teacher these past few weeks." A small smile crossed her face. Over the weeks, Hyunwoo had learned to read her expressions. The way her eyes softened when she was pleased. The way her glow brightened when she laughed. The way she tilted her head when she was thinking hard about something. He was going to miss those details. "I should activate it now," Nira said. But she did not move. "You don't have to rush. Every day I stay puts you at risk. It is selfish to delay." "Then be selfish," Hyunwoo said. "1 more day won't hurt." Nira set the beacon down. She looked at him with those purple eyes, and for a moment neither of them spoke. That evening they shared dinner like they had every night. Hyunwoo had gotten better at preparing food she could eat. Nira had gotten better at using chopsticks. They talked about small things. The book they were reading. A funny mistake Hyunwoo had made at work. The way Earth's moon looked different from Velshan's 3 moons. Normal things. Easy things. Things Hyunwoo had not talked about with anyone in 3 years. After dinner, Nira surprised him. "Tell me about your sister." Hyunwoo froze. "How did you know I had a sister?" "You talk in your sleep sometimes. You say her name, Ji-young." He had not talked about Ji-young to anyone. Not since the accident. But somehow, sitting here with Nira, the words came easier. "She was 5 years younger than me, brilliant, funny, she wanted to be a doctor." Hyunwoo stared at his hands. "There was an accident on the colony where we lived. A reactor failure. I was working in a different section. By the time I got there, it was too late." "You blame yourself," Nira said softly. "I should have been there. I should have saved her. But you could not have known. That doesn't make it hurt less." Hyunwoo looked up at Nira. "After she died, I stopped connecting with people. It was easier to be alone. Safer. If you don't care about anyone, you can't lose them." "Is that why you came out here? To this empty station?" "Yeah, I thought isolation would help. But it just made everything worse." He managed a weak smile. "Then you crashed into my life." Nira reached across and took his hand. "I am glad I did." They sat like that for a while, hands linked, not needing to fill the silence with words. Finally, Nira spoke. "I do not want to go back." Hyunwoo's heart jumped. "What?" "To the Velshan Empire. To my life there. I do not want to return." She looked anguished. "In 3 weeks with you, I have felt more alive than in 27 years among my own people. You see me as a person, not a political piece. You ask what I think, not what my family expects. With you I can just be." "Then stay," Hyunwoo said immediately. "I cannot. My family's honor depends on me returning. My people have rules, expectations. If I abandon them, I shame everyone connected to me." She pulled her hand away. "But more than that, if I stay, you will be in danger. The Velshan Empire does not forgive those who harbor our people. I don't care about danger, but I do. You have given me so much, I will not repay you by destroying your life." Hyunwoo wanted to argue. He wanted to tell her that his life was already destroyed. Had been for 3 years until she showed up. That she had given him something to care about again. But he could see the pain in her eyes. She was torn between duty and desire. Between the life she was supposed to live and the life she wanted. So instead he made a choice. "I've been falsifying the station records," he said. "Every day since you arrived. As far as anyone knows, you were never here. When you go back to your people, they'll never know a human helped you. Your honor will be intact." Nira stared at him. "You did this?" "You asked me to keep it secret. So I did. But if you are discovered, you will be punished. Imprisoned, maybe. Yeah, probably. But you'll be safe. That's what matters." Something broke in Nira's expression. Tears formed in her eyes, spilling down her cheeks in silver streams. "Why? Why would you do this for me?" "Because you deserve the choice," Hyunwoo said simply. "You deserve to go home with your head high. You deserve to not be punished for surviving." Nira covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook. Hyunwoo had never seen her cry before. He stood and moved to her side, awkward, unsure if he should comfort her or give her space. She made the choice for him. She turned and wrapped her arms around him, holding on like he was the only solid thing in the universe. "You are impossible," she said into his shoulder. Foolish and kind and impossible. I've been called worse. She laughed through her tears. They stood there holding each other until her crying stopped. When she finally pulled back, her face was determined. I will activate the beacon tomorrow, but I want you to know something. Everything I was taught about humans was wrong. You are not primitive. You are not selfish. You possess something my people lost long ago. What's that? Compassion without calculation. You help because it is right, not because it benefits you. That is not primitive. That is advanced. She touched his face gently. You changed how I see the galaxy, and I will not forget that. The next morning, Nira activated the beacon. The signal went out, invisible but powerful, calling to her people across the stars. 4 days later, a Veltian ship arrived. 2 officers came to the station, tall and cold, their skin glowing with the same ethereal light as Nira. But where her light was warm, theirs seemed harsh. They looked at the human station with obvious disgust. Hyunwoo watched from a distance as they collected Nira. She had changed into formal Veltian clothing that had been brought for her. She looked like a stranger, regal and distant. The officers were already guiding her toward their ship when she stopped. She turned around, walked back across the docking bay. The officers called to her, confused and angry. But Nira ignored them. She stopped in front of Hyunwoo, in front of all the human workers who had gathered to watch, in front of her own people, and she bowed. It was a deep bow, the kind that went past parallel, the kind that Hyunwoo recognized from old Korean customs, a bow reserved for the greatest respect. When she straightened, she spoke in Korean, loud enough for everyone to hear. You saved my life. You gave me freedom. You showed me what my people have forgotten. I will not dishonor that by pretending you are beneath me. Nira, one of the officers barked. This is inappropriate. She ignored him. She reached out and clasped Hyunwoo's hand. This is not goodbye. I promise you. Then she turned and walked to the ship, her head high. Hyunwoo stood there, hand still warm from her touch, watching the Veltian ship disappear into the stars. He had saved her life, and somehow she had saved his too. 3 months passed like years. Hyunwoo tried to return to his old routine. Wake up, work, repair things, read alone, sleep, repeat. But everything felt different now. The silence that had once been comfortable now felt suffocating. His quarters felt too empty. Even his books seemed dull without someone to share them with. He heard nothing from Nira. That was expected. The Veltian Empire did not encourage contact with humans. She was probably back in her old life, married to that official, pretending their time together had never happened. He tried not to think about it. He failed constantly. Then strange things started happening. First, high-ranking Earth officials began visiting Keonsa 7. The station had been ignored for years, considered too remote to matter. Now suddenly, diplomats and military officers were touring the facility, asking odd questions about alien contact protocols. Second, trade agreements appeared. Species that had never acknowledged humanity before were suddenly opening communication channels. Medical supplies arrived from unknown sources. Advanced technology showed up in shipments marked as administrative errors. Someone was pulling strings behind the scenes. Someone with power. Hyunwoo tried to ignore it. But the evidence kept mounting. Then the message came. It arrived on his personal terminal, heavily encrypted. When Hyunwoo finally decoded it, he found a text file. The words were in Korean. Hyunwoo, I hope this reaches you. I have been speaking to my people about what happened, about what you did for me, about what humans are capable of. It has not been easy. Many in the Empire are angry. They say I am suffering from cultural contamination, that I have been corrupted by primitive influence. But some are listening, mostly the younger generation. They want to know more about humanity. About you. I am facing investigation. My family has disowned me. If I continue, I may lose everything, but I cannot stop. You showed me that intelligence without compassion is worthless, that advancement without empathy is hollow. I will make my people understand this, no matter the cost. I keep coming back to the memory of your kindness. It gives me strength. I hope you are well. Nira. Hyunwoo read the message 5 times. Each time his chest tightened more. She was fighting for him, for humanity, and it was costing her everything. He wanted to tell her to stop, to protect herself, that his simple act of kindness was not worth destroying her life over. But he could not reach her. The message had no return address. Weeks went by. More messages came, each one shorter, more urgent. They are pressuring me to recant, to say I was confused, traumatized, that my memories are false. But I will not lie. N. My family has formally cut ties. I am no longer part of House Velshan. But 47 young Velshans have contacted me in secret. They believe things must change. N. The council has called me to testify. This could be my only chance to reach them. Wish me luck. N. Then, nothing. For 2 weeks, silence. Hyunwoo could barely function. He made mistakes at work. He stopped eating properly. He just stared at his terminal, hoping for another message. Finally, Earth Command contacted him directly. They wanted him to come to a diplomatic summit. Neutral space. Multiple species attending, including the Velshan Empire. They wanted him as a cultural ambassador. Proof of human virtue. Hyunwoo hated the idea. They were going to parade him around like a trophy. Use his connection to Nira for political gain. But if there was any chance to see her, to make sure she was okay, he would take it. He agreed. The summit station was massive, 10 times the size of Cheonsa 7. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species filled the corridors. Diplomats, politicians, soldiers, all here to negotiate trade, territory, peace. Hyunwoo felt overwhelmed. Earth's delegation kept him close, coaching him on what to say, how to act. Be humble but confident. Show human compassion. Make us look good. He ignored most of it. He just searched every crowd for Nira. He found her in the main conference hall. She stood with the Velshan delegation, looking small among the tall, glowing figures of her people. She looked tired. Her light was dimmer than he remembered. There were dark circles under her eyes that had not been there before. But when she saw him, her face transformed. Joy, relief, and something deeper flashed across her features. She excused herself from her delegation and walked straight toward him, ignoring the whispers and stares from every species in the room. Hyunwoo, she said, speaking Korean. Her accent had improved. Nira. He wanted to hug her but sensed that would be inappropriate here. Are you okay? I am better now that I see you. She smiled, tired but genuine. It has been difficult, but I have not wavered. You should have stopped. You shouldn't have risked everything for what? For the truth? She shook her head. You saved my life and asked for nothing. You gave me freedom and expected no reward. That truth deserves to be told no matter the cost. The Velshan delegation was calling to her, their expressions disapproving. Human diplomats were approaching, ready to manage the situation. But Nira ignored them all. She stood next to Hyunwoo, her hand finding his, in front of hundreds of witnesses from across the galaxy. The summit began. Leaders spoke about trade, territory, cooperation. It was boring political theater. Then Nira's turn came. She walked to the central platform. The massive room fell silent. I am Nira, formerly of House Velshan, she began. Her voice was steady, clear. 3 months ago, my ship crashed in human space. I was dying. A human engineer named Hyunwoo found me. He saved my life. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The Velshan delegation looked furious. Nira continued. I was taught that humans were primitive, inferior, not worthy of respect. But Hyunwoo showed me something different. He helped me not to gain advantage, not to earn favor, not to prove anything. He helped because I needed help, because it was right. She turned, looking directly at her people. The Velshan Empire has not changed in 3,000 years. We achieved technological perfection and stopped growing. We became rigid, cold. We forgot that advancement is not about power or knowledge. It is about understanding, compassion, connection. This is cultural contamination, one of the Velshan officials shouted. She has been corrupted. No, Nira said firmly. I have been awakened, and I am not alone. 47 young Velshans agree with me. We do not believe humanity is perfect. They have flaws, weaknesses, but they have something we lost, the ability to help without calculation, to care without reason. She gestured to Hyunwoo. This man risked his career to protect me. He falsified records to preserve my honor. He asked for nothing in return. That is not primitive behavior. That is the highest form of civilization. The room erupted. Some species applauded, others argued. The Velshan delegation was shouting among themselves. But Nira just stood there, calm and certain, her eyes on Hyunwoo. She had done it. She had told the galaxy what he represented, what humans could be. And as Hyunwoo watched her, standing alone against the weight of her entire civilization, he understood something important. She did not do this because she owed him. She did this because she believed in what he represented. She had faith in humanity, and that faith might just change everything. The consequences came swiftly. The Velshan Empire formally exiled Nira. Her family disowned her publicly. Her titles, her wealth, her home, everything was stripped away. She was declared a traitor to her people, corrupted beyond redemption. Earth granted her asylum, but it felt hollow. Hyunwoo watched the news feeds showing Nira's face being removed from Velshan records, her name erased from official histories. They were trying to make her disappear, and it was his fault. When Nira's transport arrived at Cheonsa 7, Hyunwoo was waiting at the docking bay. She stepped off the ship wearing simple clothes, carrying nothing. No guards, no attendants, no family, just her. She saw him and smiled, but he could see the exhaustion in her eyes, the weight of everything she had lost. Welcome back, he said quietly. Thank you for taking me in. They walked to his quarters in silence. The station workers stared, but Hyunwoo ignored them. When they reached his door, Nira paused. This is smaller than I remembered, she said. Yeah, sorry, it's not much. It is enough. She stepped inside and looked around. It is more than enough. Over the next few days, Hyunwoo tried to help Nira settle in. He gave her his bed, sleeping on the floor. He adjusted his work schedule to spend more time with her. He tried to make things comfortable, but the guilt was eating him alive. One night, he could not hold it in anymore. You should have stayed silent, he said suddenly. You should have protected yourself. Nira looked up from the book she was reading. What? You gave up everything because of me, your family, your home, your entire life. And for what? I'm nobody. I'm just an engineer on a forgotten station. What I did was not worth this. Nira closed the book carefully. Do you really believe that? Yes, you lost everything, Nira. Everything that mattered to you. You are wrong. She stood and walked to him. My family did not love me. They loved what I represented. My home was a cage. My life was a performance. I lost nothing that truly mattered. But, listen to me, she said firmly. You think you are just one person who did one thing, but you are not. You are proof that intelligence can exist without arrogance. That advancement does not require domination. That compassion is not weakness. That's too much weight to put on one simple act. Simple? Nira laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Hyunwoo, do you know what happens in the Velshan Empire when someone finds a lesser species in trouble? We walk away. We let them die because helping would mean admitting they have value. That is what 3,000 years of perfection taught us. She took his hands. You did not walk away. You helped because it was right. And in doing that, you showed me that the galaxy does not have to be what it has always been. You gave me hope. Hope for what? Hyunwoo asked bitterly. What did any of this accomplish? Your people still hate me. The galaxy still sees humans as inferior. Nothing changed. Everything changed, Nira said softly. Watch. Over the following weeks, Hyunwoo began to see what she meant. Young Velshans started appearing. They arrived quietly in small ships seeking asylum. First 3, then 7, then 12. They came to meet Nira, to meet Hyunwoo, to see the human who had changed everything. Nira's cousin Ilara was among them. She was younger, her glow bright with excitement rather than the dim restraint of the older generation. You kept speaking even when they tried to silence you, Ilara told Nira. You kept defending these humans even when it cost you everything. Your faith made us believe we could choose differently too. It was not just Velshans. Other species started reaching out to humanity. Not the governments, but individuals. Scientists who wanted to collaborate. Artists who wanted to exchange culture. Young people tired of the old power structures. Nira and Hyunwoo became the unlikely center of something new. A movement without a name. A quiet rebellion against the way things had always been. They worked together, combining Velshan knowledge with human innovation. They developed translation technology that worked on emotion, not just words. They created meeting spaces where different species could interact as equals, not as superiors and inferiors. It was messy. There were misunderstandings, conflicts, failures, but slowly, something was growing. 6 months after her exile, representatives from multiple species approached Nira. They wanted to create a new organization, not a government, but a bridge. A council dedicated to mutual understanding rather than political advantage. They wanted her to lead it. Nira refused unless it was a collective leadership, and she insisted on one thing. Hyunwoo had to be part of it. He protested. I'm just an engineer. I don't know anything about diplomacy or politics. Exactly, Nira said. We need people who help because it is right, not because it is strategic. We need people who see beings, not political pieces. We need you. The other representatives agreed. They saw what Nira saw. Hyunwoo represented something the galaxy had been missing. Genuine compassion without hidden motives. The coalition formed slowly. It started with 10 species, then 20. Not governments, but individuals and small groups who believed in the vision. A galaxy where advancement was measured not by power, but by understanding. On the day they officially established the Coalition for Mutual Understanding, Hyunwoo stood with Nira on a new station built specifically for this purpose. Ships from dozens of species were arriving, their crews nervous but hopeful. Are you ready? Nira asked. No, Hyunwoo admitted. I still don't understand why everyone is listening to me. Because you do not try to be more than you are. You do not pretend to have all the answers. You just help when you can. She smiled. That authenticity is rare. Precious. They walked into the council chambers together. Representatives from across the galaxy waited inside. Some looked skeptical. Others looked hopeful. All of them were here because they believed something different was possible. Hyunwoo thought about how this all started. A crash. A rescue. A simple choice to help someone who needed it. He had not been trying to change the galaxy. He had not been trying to prove anything about humanity. He had just seen someone dying and decided that was not okay. But Nira had taken that simple act and built faith from it. Faith that compassion mattered. Faith that different species could understand each other. Faith that the galaxy could be better. She kept coming to his side, not because she needed rescuing anymore, but because she chose to believe in what he represented. And somehow, that faith had spread. The council session began. There would be challenges ahead. Resistance from the old powers. Misunderstandings. Failures. This coalition might not even survive its first year. But as Hyunwoo looked around the room at beings from across the galaxy, all trying to listen to each other, all choosing hope over cynicism, he felt something he had not felt in years. Purpose. Maybe he was not just an engineer on a forgotten station. Maybe his sister's death was not the end of his ability to save people. Maybe one simple act of kindness really could ripple outward, changing lives in ways he could never predict. Nira caught his eye across the chamber. She smiled, warm and genuine. She mouthed 2 words in Korean. "Thank you." Hyun-woo smiled back. He wanted to tell her that she was the one who did all this. She was the one who had faith when faith seemed impossible. She was the one who sacrificed everything to build something better. But he knew what she would say. That he gave her the reason to have faith. That his simple humanity showed her what was possible. Maybe they were both right. Maybe changing the galaxy started with one person helping another, with seeing someone in need and refusing to walk away, with choosing compassion even when it would be easier to do nothing. As the first session of the Coalition for Mutual Understanding began, Hyun-woo thought about all the beings across the galaxy who felt alone, lost, certain that nothing could change. He hoped they would hear this story. The story of an engineer and an alien girl who found each other by accident and chose to believe that kindness mattered. He hoped they would understand what Nira understood, that humanity was not perfect. But humans had something the galaxy needed.